Constantinople was located at the eastern end of the Mediterranean Sea in present-day Turkey, and had a population of approximately 1 million. When Constantinople was established, it was called Nova Roma, or New Rome. On May 11, 330, Emperor Constantine I proclaimed it the new capital of the Roman Empire. The city was renamed Constantinople after the emperor's death in 337. The city emerged as a natural gateway for trade between Europe and Asia, and as a center for diplomacy and strategy. From inside the city walls, Constantine was able to control major trade between Europe and Asia and the waterway between the Black and Mediterranean Seas. After the capital of the Roman Empire was switched to Constantinople, distinguished citizens of the Constantine Empire, such as Justinian, built it to be a worthy capital, with remarkable landmarks such as the walls, Golden Horn Chain, Hagia Sophia, Great Palace, Hippodrome, Forum of Constantine, aqueducts, harbors, moats, as well as roads.
Of all the emperors, Justinian is one of the best. Early in his rule, he was challenged by the Nika revolt. Hiding out in the Forum of Constantinople, he was given an impassioned speech by his wife, Theodora, and so rallied his troops to clean up the Hippodrome. He soon set his sights on northern Africa, and conquered it back from the Vandals swiftly.
In the rebellion, however, many important buildings were burned down, and he started rebuilding Constantinople, where he was famous for building the Hagia Sophia.
The Golden Horn Chain was used when there was danger from the sea. A giant chain would be pulled up to block invading forces. This stopped the city from becoming invaded. Trade increased between Asia, Europe, and Constantinople because of the construction of roads. Roads contributed to the prosperous economy of the empire.
All of the Byzantine emperors and their families lived in the Byzantine palace. The palace featured classic Byzantine architecture. In Constantinople, deep-water harbors were created along the Marmara shore and the Golden Horn in the 4th and 5th centuries. For many people, the sea offered a cheaper, faster, and safer way of crossing long distances or moving goods to market. The geography of the Byzantine Empire recommended sending most foodstuffs and trade goods by sea. It was not only quicker, but much cheaper to transport goods by water rather than overland. Aqueducts were used to bring water to the empire. Exposed sections of the aqueduct were an obvious weakness in times of siege. Between the 4th and 7th century, many cisterns and tanks were built to address this effect. Most were located on hilltops in the western city and were fed by the aqueduct and surface runoff.
The Hippodrome was first built by Septimius Severus, but it was Constantine who reconstructed it into the famous stadium for chariot racing. The Hippodrome became the center and focal point of many citizens' lives, and everyone was eligible for the entertainment. This arena for chariot racing had close links with the administration of the city, witnessing state ceremonies, political assemblies, and possession. The Hippodrome chariot racing caused the Nika Revolution. On January 1st, 532, a war broke out unexpectedly in Byzantium among the populace. The population had been divided into blue and green factions. The revolt escalated into an aim of replacing the Emperor Justinian, but was ended on January 19th. Justinian sent Belisarius, his ace general, to the Hippodrome to butcher all of the 30,000 to 35,000 rioters. Justinian was again in control of his capital city, and the strength of the circus factions was broken.
The city walls surrounded the entire city with 192 towers, and some were 70 feet tall. The Constantinians built ditches in between the walls and the outside lands, which created moats. The walls withstood at least 17 sieges by the Avars, Bulgars, Arabs, and Rus. The walls withstood all but 2 invasions in 1,600 years. The first was the Fourth Crusade in 1204 and the conquest of Mehmed II in 1453. The strength of the walls and belief in their divine protection were considered key reasons for this empire's longevity. The huge amount of walls allowed them to build farms as well as pastures inside the walls. This meant they wouldn't starve out during sieges.
The Hagia Sophia, or Holy Wisdom in Greek, was built by Justinian in 537 after a church of a similar name was destroyed in a series of riots. It was the center for the Orthodox Church before it was transformed into a mosque. The church, viewed as the most splendid church in the Christian world, was a visible sign between the connection of the church and state. The church is most commonly known for its unique architecture, with its domes and arches adorned with gold, bronze, mosaics, and marble. The main feat of the architecture was the 160-foot-high dome. It was 100 feet in diameter and had to be held up by 4 large arches. The largest dome, as well as other small ones, drew visitors' eyes up as if towards the heavens. In May of 1453, after the winning Turkish troops won, the Turkish leader renamed the church the Hagia Sophia Camia, or Hagia Sophia Mosque in Turkish, and stripped the church of its Christian ornamentation. The Hagia Sophia was later made into a museum, and despite many earthquakes causing the building to collapse, it has undergone multiple restorations to keep it at its peak glory.
The Byzantines greatly valued education, more specifically the classical side of it. They studied basic courses such as Greek and Latin grammar, philosophy, and classic Greek and Roman literature, straight from the classic books, such as the Odyssey.
Byzantine scholars very commonly had to memorize Homer, research medicine from Galen, learn geometry from Euclid, and study history through the works of Herodotus. The Byzantine scholars played a huge role in the preservation of Greek and Roman culture, knowledge, and learning. They wrote down everything they knew and everything they learned about them into books. Because of this, the Byzantine Empire was greatly affected and influenced by these cultures. Byzantine architecture in the West gave way to Romanesque and Gothic architecture. In the East, it exerted a profound influence on early Islamic architecture. During the Umayyad Caliphate era, as far as the Byzantine impact on early Islamic architecture is concerned, the Byzantine artistic heritage formed a fundamental source of the new Islamic art, especially in Syria and Palestine. There are considerable Byzantine influences which can be detected in the distinctive early Islamic monuments in Syria and Palestine, as on the Dome of the Rock at Jerusalem and the Umayyad Mosque at Damascus.